Thank you for joining me today. This is a good episode of the Second Order Podcast. I'm yours, Nate, and today we are going to talk to the CEO and founder of AiCR, Mr. Joe Furlong, who has been in the business since he was 10 years old, which I think is an exemplary story for people that are ambitious and have just sort of that desire to provide value and have the desire to continue to build new things and try new things. And I think during his long career as an entrepreneur before he was a teenager to now leading AiCR, you get a really keen sense that one, he knows what the hell he's talking about, and two, there's so much to kind of think about as you're building out your company, your team, your product, and how you can navigate that throughout the complex journey of starting your own company and growing your own platform. So Joe is a great guy. I know we're going to have him back on the show again, but without further ado, let's take a peek into the conversation that I had with Joe Furlong, the CEO of AiCR, and I hope you enjoy.
All right, we are delighted here today. We have really just a veteran in all things startup and background. Joe Furlong, he is the CEO, the head guy at AiCR. Super awesome, honestly, a super awesome solution. I'm really excited to talk to it today. Joe, thank you so much for joining me on the Second Order Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Nate. Excited.
Yes, excellent. All right, so Joe, as I mentioned, you are I would say your background is when we spoke beforehand is super impressive, and I want people to just really kind of appreciate the depth and the breadth of your experience before we talk specifically about AiCR. So, give us your the 1 degree more than the elevator pitch of who Joe is and how cool you are in your background.
Well, I obviously am the coolest person
I
on
know
the
that.
planet. So let's just start right there. We don't even have to discuss that. That's a given. Now, and even though that I do only look 22 years old, I have been doing this for over 35 years.
That's fantastic.
I know, it's crazy. I was fortunate enough to start my career very young. When I was 18 years old, I started a consumer lending firm doing indirect automobile lending. And this is in the early 90s, like 91.
Okay.
And ultimately, I was competing against the big boys, and I'm a little kid over here. And how I did that is I built software solutions to underwrite loans, and where my competitors were taking a day doing it via fax, I was doing it in 20 seconds using a database that I created.
That's all.
And
What did you build it on? What was the technology stack?
Oh my gosh. I got my first computer when I was 10 years old. It was a Tandy 1000 from Radio Shack, and it was written in BASIC.
Amazing.
So, I mean, literally, you're going back forever ago. This is before there was hard drives, when I had a 5 1/4 disc, and then I got a 3.5. I mean, literally, that's how old I go back. But, so I always felt that technology is a path for efficiency and moving forward, and that's driven my entire career. So I've been in banking various levels for over 30 years, whether it be operational, development, origination, the whole shebang. From there to today, that's what I've been doing.
Excellent. That's wild. I think 91, you having your first business is before even some of the listeners were around, because we have a healthy demographic between 18 and 24, which is not a mechanism to make you feel old, but I just like a lot of times the generation or the younger generation, sort of, to put that into context, is just wild. Like the length of time that you've been in the game is longer than some people have been around, and there's just so much to be heard or to learn from in your perspective. So, all right. So let's
I got to tell you an anecdote real quick. This actually happened just the other day. I was talking to the marketing team, and we're saying, well, it's like an homage to the Hotel California song by the Eagles. And they all looked at me like, what are you talking about? I said, please tell me you know what the song is. It's like one of the
it's like the most essential, like California rock. Like it's yeah.
Right. And one of them actually said, oh yeah, that's the one my dad listens to all the time. I'm thinking, there you go.
Yep. There you go. That's how it lands. I was waiting for them to reference it as like some animated movie or something. I'm sure it's like being featured in something like that. But anyways, okay. So let's talk about a little bit of the path to how AiCR became a thing. And then let's talk about what you specifically do at AiCR and then I want to get into some of the depth of the challenges that you faced along the way and some stuff like that.
So AiCR is a division of a larger organization called MIAC. And prior to me taking over the new division, I ran our loan due diligence group. And in essence, our clients would engage us saying, hey, I'm buying this pool of loans. I want you to review them, re-underwrite them, check the compliance, do the docs and data, make sure that I know what I'm getting is right. Almost like kicking the tires when you buy a car. That's what engaged. And when I was there, we would do tens of thousands of these loans, tens of thousands of them. And our standard residential loan would take about 4 hours to do one loan.
Wow.
And I'm thinking to myself, how can I make this more efficient? And I said, okay, here's an easy solution. I will develop a platform that will classify and extract data from documents automatically. Not realizing is by far the hardest thing in the world. A lot of people have tried it and have not done it very well.
Sure.
And that's what started on the path of just trying to solve that problem of making that process more efficient, because the business is not hard. It's how many hours per man hours does it take to do a loan, and how can I reduce that man hours and my profit margin goes up. It's just that simple.
Yep.
And that was the birth of AiCR.
Nice. That sounds awesome. That's a great origin story. Okay. So flash forward maybe, and AiCR has been around for a little bit of time now. So tell me a little bit about the team around you and kind of how you set out to take the lessons you've learned since you've been 18 doing loans for cars through to how you set up AiCR. Because I know that you kind of alluded to, you like to obviously leverage the lessons from the past and make sure that you're setting yourself up for the most amount of success possible.
Yeah. The biggest thing is trying to provide what the market wants, and being very understanding on what will work, and actually then looking at the operations on how can it impact the operations. And of course, if you provide what the market wants and do the operations, it's going to yield success. And coming from a small business background my entire life, I have to always do things, pull myself up by the bootstraps. But fortunately, I had a small team and I was able to get a couple developers, and we just rolled up our sleeves.
Nice.
Developing an AI solution to do this is extremely hard. And it was really, you build it, you fail, you throw it away, you start over, and you just repeat that until you have a good foundation. And that was the beginning portion of how AiCR was born a few years ago.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Started small. Do you find that small teams are more efficient than larger ones?
Yeah, well, you kind of have to, but there's a balancing act. To get it going, everyone needs to do everything. I always tell my entire team is if a client asks for pencils to be sharpened, everyone should say, "Where's the pencil sharpener?" There's never a time of like, it's not my job. I never ever want to hear that. Never.
Yep. Okay. So when you were thinking about, go back for a second, when you're thinking about AiCR and the experience, or like that you identified the clear problem, right? You identify that this is a challenge, and you think that AiCR is the big thing that can solve for that. Was there anything, I'm particularly trying to understand, like, what was the second degree thinking that went into that? Like, hey, this is a problem and I think we can solve that. And did you have any thoughts or considerations afterwards of, hey, what does it look like when this is successful? Or, what does it look like when we get our first, half a dozen clients? Was there any considerations on that, or are you focused solely on, building and then you figure out the stuff later?
I think it was mostly building and figure it out later, but realistically, I always had to look at the big picture, because you got to realize doing this on the lending arena is a very, very tough problem. And give me a minute and I'll give you the reasons why.
Yeah, please.
So when there's a loan transaction or a securitization or a quality control review, anything, it's never just, I created the loan yesterday. Some of these loans could have been around for 10, 15, or even 20 years.
Sure.
And you can imagine looking at the documents from 20 years ago, there was barely Adobe Acrobat, let alone the technology you have today.
Right.
So the system had to be able to handle anything that was thrown at it. And over that, the documents have changed. So not only the frequency of the documents, the quality of the documents, the versions of the documents, everything changed. And if you look at a typical loan package, you may fill out a couple forms and you may say, why am I signing my name 50 times?
Yeah.
But that's only a small portion of the loan document. It literally, on average, is about 700 pages. So you have this document, only about this loan that has 700 pages, only which about 25% are standardized, or 75% is a mishmash of this and that.
Mhm.
And they can range from yesterday all the way to 20 years ago, handwritten, all that stuff. So I basically said it needs to be able to handle structured docs, unstructured docs,
Unstructured.
semi-structured docs. Ones
Yep.
were created yesterday, ones were created a million years ago, handwritten. And it also needs to do it very quickly. Because when I get a job, it says 2,000 loans, and an average loan is 700 pages. You're looking at millions of pages there.
Yep.
So we had to build an infrastructure to be able to process that very, very rapidly and do it very accurately, and not have what is called a human in the loop process.
Yep.
And the brain needed to be able to classify and extract the data. And that was, in essence, what AiCR was built around. And that was the success on it. And that's why people come to us, is because it actually works. It acts very, very rapidly. It's very transparent, and it integrates with other applications. It's a great solution.
That's great. That's great. You said there's without the need for the human in the loop, or with the
That's right.
the need for the human in the loop?
Without.
Without. Tell me
So,
more, because that's like
yeah.
that's like the headline for all AI is human in the loop.
Yes. One of the things that frustrated me when I first started going out, I looked at the marketplace, seeing what was out there, because maybe it was just easier to license it. And there's a couple of things that I found pretty quickly. One, that they had this human in loop process, meaning I would upload the documents and it would go to a team offshore. And then there's a team of people just extracting the data. And the problem with that is the timing was inconsistent. The results are inconsistent.
Mhm.
They really only focused on a handful of documents, and that didn't work for me. And so we spent an enormous amount of time, an enormous amount of money building it so it would work. But the reality of it is AI is not 100% of the time. So how we resolve that is we give every data extraction that we do, not the page, not the document, every single data extraction has a confidence score.
Mhm.
So when we have something that is at 30% or 50% or even 90%, you can say, I don't want it. Only give me stuff that are 90, 99, 100%. So it allows you to focus on the really what's needed. And it gives you good confidence and clarity and transparency to the data that you're getting.
Yeah.
And that's how we're able to solve it. And of course, we also solve the hallucination problem as well
Excellent.
in our world.
That's great. That's I mean, the hallucination problem I know is a big challenge for a lot of folks, or a lot of companies that are dealing with that.
Yes.
I guess, tell me, like, it sounds like there's a lot of things that you've solved for, right? The hallucination piece, the human in the loop piece, and just rather like normal sustainability related to a platform. Did these all come? Did you learn about these the hard way, or did you solve them the hard way, or were this an intentional build out? Or tell me a little bit about what that process was like to kind of get around some of these standard failures of AI and SaaS platforms.
So it was intentional.
Okay.
And the team that is within AiCR, they're fantastic, smart individuals on all aspects. Difference of business, the knowledge of knowing the business, understanding technology, and having collaboration and saying, okay, we know what we need to bring to the marketplace because we actually use it. We're not just a vendor making something for other people.
Yeah.
We build it so we can use it.
Yep.
So that is a big difference. And then we talk to the people that are really smart on the tech side and the dev side to say, okay, this is what we need to solve for. So we knew the path to be able to, what we needed to do to make this work. Doesn't make it easy. It was really, really hard. Hardest thing I've ever developed in my entire life, by far.
Yeah.
But at least we had an understanding on where we need to go. And the other challenge we had is, I would love to be able to do it all at once. You can't. It has to be iterative. It has to be, you have to have that foundation, what I call the brain. Without the brain being good, everything else is immaterial. And that's what we focused on, focusing on the brain and solving what we need to solve for.
Yep. So
One of the statements that you just made is you would love to be able to do it all at once,
Yeah,
but you can't, which I think
can't.
is everybody hits that wall. So what is your approach to, does it come down to straight prioritization? Do you handle based on potential customer pipeline over product pipeline? Talk to me about how you manage that balance.
Sure. So at the beginning of the year, we put out a development roadmap for the year in chunks. We do 2-week sprints, but
Sure.
in essence, we'll say, okay, this month, this quarter, this year, these are the features that we want to roll out. And then we also start talking about the year later, but it's mostly right in front and center.
Hmm.
And through that year, we kind of divide it into sprints, but knowing that I talk to clients every single day, and we love getting feedback from them saying, I want X, I want Y. And then we take that on board and say, okay, do we need to pivot a little bit? Which is more than a little bit. It's quite often, frankly, we had to pivot based on client demand.
Yep.
And then we just kind of follow our general rule, follow our sprints, but knowing that we have to shift gears quite often because that's what the market demands.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Has that ever come to a head where you're balancing multiple priority ones? Is that a standard, like priority one feature across clients?
Every day, I tell my team we have to do everything all at once at the same time.
Sure.
And what I do is I just, with the internal and external people, I'm just very transparent. I'm
Yeah.
saying, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to try really hard, and communicate. And as we communicate with them, that least gives honesty, and that transparency gives that comfort. People realizing, okay, we're not just trying to sell them on something. We're actually working with them, collaborating with them, and it makes with a lot smoother process. If I
Hmm.
sit there and try to jam things down people's throat, people see past that.
Sure.
Having it open conversation, collaboration is the key.
Yep, absolutely. So with that, that kind of speaks to the culture of the team that you're sort of building around and how you find the right people. And I know that for growing organizations, that can be sometimes be a challenge. Oftentimes I want to say you're forced, but the first people that you look to is your friends or the people that are in your network, which may or may not be the best people for the various different roles. So what are some of your thoughts on when you identify talent, when you need to find, when you need to hire somebody new, and then you have a lot of passion related to like transparency and all of the important things in culture. So tell me how you manifest that into new people and that a little bit about that process.
Well, I would say when we hire new people, it's our process is quite deliberate, and sometimes it could be methodical, but to me, it is what makes it successful. The
Sure.
team that's on within Acre, they all understand the story. They all understand the goal. They get the big picture. They're on the team. They're all working together. And when I hire new people, they have to have that culture. It
Hmm.
is not a culture where you're going to come in at 9 o'clock in the morning, sit in a corner, push a button on your desk for 8 hours and leave.
Yep.
That's not our world. And the people we bring on, I need to have a firm belief that they get it. And if
Yeah.
they do, great. If they don't, it's not the spot for 'em.
Okay. All right. How do you test to see if they get it? What's some of the secret sauce there?
Well, you know, I ha I can tell you one of the best things that we do is our intern program.
Okay.
So
Get
we
them
have
young.
well, we're in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. In Bethlehem,
Sure.
Pennsylvania, we have Lehigh University, we have Moravian, we have about 6 or 7 universities around, and we have internships that last 13 weeks all year long. We
Okay.
bring them in, throw them to the fire, and let's see how they do. If they work well for the 13 weeks, we give them another shot for another 13 weeks. And if that
Sure.
works really well, and we just kind of almost use that experience as the ability not only for us to learn how they work and their attitude and if they're a good fit, but they also get to know if they like us, they like what they're doing.
Yeah.
And after the period of time, if they work out well, we give them an offer and move forward. It seems to
Nice.
work very well for us.
Excellent. That's a great model. I like that a lot.
Yep.
Very cool. Okay, so tell me, you talked a little bit about how you got here. Tell me, what is
what's the future state look like for you guys? What are your top priorities? What are the top challenges? Anything that you can think of as the future state as you're beginning to scale outside of, everyone's looking for market share. What are some of the other things that come on in your mind as you're leading the charge for AiCR?
So it's I would say a three-headed beast. So the first one is just continuing to refine our core models and what I call the brain, because
Yep.
you need to make those improved at all times. You can never be, oh, we're done with that. No, it's every single day. Then the second one, we're adding more features that make the overall process more robust. And then the third thing is engaging our clients, building out our market share methodically and deliberately. But all of these three things have to go hand in glove. If you do too much with the other one, you'll get some unhappy clients, or you won't be able to have the features you want to roll out. So it is something that I deal with every single day, is managing those items. But I won't even say they're conflicting. They're actually very homogeneous, but
Mm-hmm.
needs to be managed very, very carefully. And I think through the end of the year, at the end of this year, we're going to be a lot different place than we were at the beginning. And in 2027, we're going to be a completely different place than when we are today.
Excellent.
And it's just an exciting way to be. It just takes a lot of effort and a lot of work, but
Yeah.
we're all good for it.
Nice. I love it. So there's one question I like to ask most leaders. If you could wave a magic wand and get one outcome that is most challenging, what's the magic wand moment for you?
Help me out with that. Most challenging, like something to solve, or what do you mean?
Yeah, when you're looking at your purview, your pseudo kingdom of the things that you're working on, things that you're building, your team, your people, your process, the goals that you have in front of you. There's a series of challenges or things that you're going to have to encounter, no doubt. If you could take one magic wand and get rid of it or make it as easy as possible, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I would say just the overall features of AiCR, and I'm not saying that it's not good enough, but there's so much pressure to get it better,
Sure.
and it's internal pressure. So I mean, that's why I'm stammering a little bit, because it's a great question, but it's a combination of love to have more resources. I
Yeah.
would love to have more clients. I would love to be able to do they all kind of intertwine it with each other. So I don't think there's one definite thing, but trying to get to the point where there's a smooth nature, because when you're running a small business, small group, and which we are, we're growing quite considerably, but we're still small compared to others.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of effort, and effort on everyone. It's not just me, the entire team. And I can't wait to the point where it gets in a little bit more regimented cadence.
Yeah.
I guess that's where I'm talking about. I know that didn't answer your question, but that's what came
No,
to
that's
mind.
great. That's great. I mean, the reason why I ask it is because it gives, some insight to the others that are building and listening, and everyone's experiencing, I don't want to say the same, but similar challenges of what is it that you could look for. And almost everybody of character never says, the buyout or whatever. Like
No.
the everyone focuses on like how can they make it better for the customers. And I think that's where the dotted line theory, or the theme of what you highlighted there, is you want to have the runway, or you want to have the ability to do that, which I think is great to hear, especially
Yeah.
from the leader of a company, and a company that does a lot of cool things. It's easy to kind of get lost in the mystique of it all. So I appreciate the answer and
Yeah.
where the perspective is
You
coming from.
you did a better job answering the question than I did. So thank you for the layup there. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Joe, this has been fantastic. Any parting words of inspiration for those that are on the other side of the court? You're in the middle of your game with AiCR. You've finished many other games along the way. For those about to pick up the ball or to start with the team, anything that you would think of to help them get over the, the first moment of inspiration? What are the things that they should be considering after that, in line with the second order thinking theory?
So the way I always say it is, you never know when opportunities arise. Always keep your eyes open. Always take advantage of every opportunity. Know it's going to be super, super hard, but that difficulty is worth it. And you're not going to succeed every single time. It doesn't matter, but you have to try it. If you do that, you'll be surprised on how well you do. Don't give up, and always give it your full effort. That's how I see it.
Love it. Fantastic. Joe, it's been a pleasure, man. I do really appreciate you being on the show, and I look forward to having you back, and we can talk about AiCR's IPO.
Anytime.
And with that conversation, that'll wind down the show for us today for the Second Order podcast. And I think the conversation with Joe is a special one to me, because I sort of started in finance industry and banking industry, and it was always very cool for me to kind of hear how these solutions are developing, and how there really is true innovation in that space. And Joe is a shining example of that. And the reason why I say it like that is that there's so many different when people think of banking, it's not necessarily the first thing that you can think of when it comes to innovation, or that's like the trope. And I think what Joe and his team are doing, super innovative, and also a very bold claims on the functionality of the product, of the platform, of what AiCR can do. And I believe that this is a great story, coming from Bethlehem, PA. And not necessarily on Wall Street, and really driving innovation and change in this AI world, but not losing the human element of it. You can tell that Joe really cares about his team, really invests in his team. And I think that's an example that I hope continues to be emulated further and further along, as more and more people start to take up the realms of their own SaaS, of their own product, of their own solution, etc. So, Joe, thank you very much for coming on the show, and we will have you back again after the inevitable success that you will be having with AiCR. And we will come out with a new episode here coming very soon, and I will see you on that next one. Until then, keep that second order in mind.